Good evening. Hope everybody is doing all right. I didn't really know what to name the show with everything going on. I just thought, well, why don't I just put it all together in some big nonsensical way? So basically I'm saying, Putin, don't drone me, bro. I've got nothing to do with the bullshit in D.C. Man, I'm telling you, I've got a fair amount of headlines open to discuss with you. Although I'm probably going to kind of run through them, get the headlines done, and I'm exhausted. And all I want to do is go to bed. So, like I said, there's been a lot going on. I do want to start out before I jump into any types of, of the headlines that we're going to cover. And there's a lot of fear being generated over this monkeypox stuff. And don't let it freak you out. It is absolutely, to my knowledge, a much more deadly disease than, say, COVID. However, you're not going to catch it the same way. I haven't heard anything different from doctors. I've been paying attention to the headlines and stuff. I'm not hearing anything different about some different way it's being transmitted, some new way it's being transmitted, or anything like that. And the large majority of individuals that have been infected were involved in activities that put them at great risk. About as nice as I could put it, to be real honest. I ain't got the energy, otherwise I'd say something stupid about it. Anyway, you should have no reason to worry. Doesn't mean that they're not gonna try to scare you to death. Doesn't mean that they're not gonna try to do this, that, the other thing. In fact, my first tab I've got open to talk about has to do with them releasing a limited amount of smallpox vaccines for this. Again, most of us, to my knowledge, and I hope I'm corrected, if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, it's not just simply spread so easily as like COVID was. So anyway, other than that, just kind of a smorgasbord of news, to be honest, and much of it just reaffirming what we've been saying for some time. And this is, more or less statements coming from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I hope people are listening. We got some issues coming down the pike, and I don't know how bad they're going to get. I have no idea. And, well, we don't know for certain all that's going to happen. We don't know with 100% certainty that we're going to be involved in some major global war. We don't know that. I have a lot of concern about it, and if that happens, then really much of what most of us have to say is all up in the air. Because, events can change drastically, and with the way that the supply lines go. Hang on a second. Okay. Had to holler at a daughter, a doggy daughter. But anyway, I just got huffed. I knew it was coming. Anyway, I do personally think that we're headed that direction. And that's just my thoughts. I can't sugarcoat it or anything like that. And I think it's going to be much worse than just us and, the currently involved parties. I think it's going to spill over with China and Taiwan as well. I've got some headlines that I personally find kind of concerning. And, the really bothersome thing about all this is really just getting started. So, again, if conflict does break out, it pretty much throws up anything that we've been able to try to guide, so to speak, as far as advice or thoughts or opinions, and really tosses them in the air, because it's a totally different field at that point. And all we can do is what we've been doing, what I've been, urging people to do for a long time. Keep plugging at it. Just keep plugging at it. No matter how far you are now, if today's your first day, keep plugging at it. None of us have a crystal ball. None of us can tell the future. And just because many of us, and I mean many of us, are showing concern. I'm seeing a lot of concern with individuals that don't typically show concern. I'm even showing concern, or he's showing concern, but I'm picking up on it. Economic Ninja. And that's one cool cat. But here lately, it seems to me like he's a little bit nervous. And I don't mean that he's a scaredy cat kind of way, not whatsoever. But with what's going on, it's got to be nerve-wracking for anybody that does trading or anyone involved in that kind of stuff. I think the market did close a little up today or something. I thought I saw a headline say. Bitcoin, it looked like, was still, last I looked, it's still below 30,000. So, trying to think of what else. It's just a perfect storm. It really is, and I've said it. Many others have said it. This has got to be orchestrated. There is no way that you could have this amount of issues and that many different industries. Things just aren't adding up at all. So, again, the answer, regardless, stays the same for you and I. We just have to be, ready to go to weather the storm. That's the long and short of it. Anyway, let me go ahead and switch on over here. I done paused that like 10 times. I guess every so often it starts a new one or something, but anyway, no, leave me alone with all this stuff. I don't want to subscribe. I don't want desktop notifications. Alright, CDC releasing some smallpox vaccination, if I can speak, doses for monkeypox. Officials for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday said the agency is releasing doses of a smallpox vaccine in response to the few recent cases of monkeypox that have been detected in the U.S. Jennifer McQuiston, the deputy director for the CDC's Division of High Consequence Pathogens and Pathology. Wow. Does she have like a double wide business card? Anyway, said during a press briefing that more than 1,000 doses of the I'm sure I said that wrong. Smallpox vaccine are currently available in the U.S., with more doses expected to become available as production ramps up. Anyway, this person, because I don't know how to say that name for sure, approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Oh, it's not a person. Well, it might be a person, but it's the name of the vaccine. Sorry. Approved by the Food and Drug Administration in 2019, is manufactured by Bavarian Nordic, a biotechnology company headquartered in Denmark. Even that's imported. The vaccines will be designated for people who are most likely to benefit from them, McQuiston said, including those who are known to have had close contact with monkeypox patients, healthcare workers, and people who would be at high risk of developing a severe case of the disease. And I'm going to say Jenios vaccine is administered in 2.5 milliliter doses, 4 weeks apart. 0.5. That ain't very much. McQuiston confirmed that there has been a request for the release of the Jenios whatever vaccine from the U.S. National Stockpile for high-risk contacts, and said it was actively happening right now. Apart from Jenios, more than 1 million doses of the older generation ACAM 2000 smallpox vaccine are available, though CDC officials noted on Monday that this shot has some potential side effects that warrant discussion before widespread use. I hope somebody listens. On Monday, the CDC also reported that there is currently one confirmed case of monkeypox reported in Massachusetts, and 4 probable cases, all found in men. Among the presumptive cases of monkeypox, 1 was detected in New York, 1 in Florida, and 2 in Utah. What am I supposed to think about that? 1 in Massachusetts, 1 in New York, 1 in Florida, and 2 in Utah. I mean, just scattered, like sprinkled about the country. That's the only thing that bothers me in this. Because this outbreak happened at some type of gay pride type of event, I think in the Canary Islands or something like that. Canada, I don't remember exactly where. 80,000 people, if I recall right, attended that event. So, I mean, my first question, and I really do think that the CDC needs to be wide open and transparent about this. Were these men, because it's all men, and somehow involved with that event or anyone that was at that event? Because otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Let's see. It says on Monday... Oh, wait. The CDC officials stressed that the risk to the general public remains low, with McQuiston noting that there have been only a handful of likely cases detected in the U.S. so far. Right now, the case count is low, so I don't think that there's great risk to the general community for monkeypox right now in the United States, said McQuiston. I think that we need to pay close attention to the communities in which this might be circulating so we can communicate effectively with them and help bring this outbreak under control. On Sunday, President Biden said everybody should be concerned about the monkeypox cases. They haven't told me the level of exposure yet, but it is something that everybody should be concerned about, Biden said. He actually said that, like he actually completed the sentence. Really? Good for him. Biden said while departing for South Korea, we're working on it hard to figure out what we do and what vaccine, if any, may be available for it. I believe he's probably lip-syncing at this point. Bavarian Nordic announced last week that it already secured a vaccine order from an unidentified European country for a supply of its smallpox vaccine marketed as Amvanex in Europe. So that's what's going on with that. Again, and if you take how it's worded here, because in my opinion that might be a little bit important. Hang on. Even right here, they said they don't think that there's a great risk to the general community. But the way that he worded, I think that we need to pay close attention to the communities in which this might be circulating so that we can communicate effectively with them and help bring this outbreak under control. And I'm just going to come out and take all those words and jumble them up into two and tell you it's the homosexual population. Because that is how this spreads so badly over there. And so I think that's what they are concerned with here. So I don't think the majority of us really should be concerned unless we have a partner that's, I don't know, going and having dessert, I guess. I don't know. That's the only one I have on that nonsense. Thank goodness. JP Morgan issues U.S. wealth shock warning. Here it says U.S. household wealth has fallen by at least $5 trillion so far this year amid an intense market sell-off, according to JP Morgan Chase, note seen by Bloomberg. The losses could amount to $9 trillion by year-end, it estimated. According to the report, U.S. billionaires are the biggest losers in the market rout, with their collective wealth having crashed almost $800 billion since its peak in November. I guess I'm supposed to be upset. Data showed that since the start of the year, the S&P 500 index slid 18%, the NASDAQ 100 has lost 27%, and a Bloomberg index of cryptocurrencies has nosedived 48%. Surging interest rates have added to the pain. The U.S. Federal Reserve, which is struggling with the highest inflation in decades, needs Americans to curb their spending despite the risk of an economic slowdown. Wow. And I mean, that's telling, is it not? Because just think about this. Think about this. Ever since 9/11, what have we been told? Spend, 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 spend. I don't know if that even changed back in 2008, did it? I'm pretty sure they kept saying spend, spend, spend. Now all of a sudden it's like, hold up. Curb your spending. And I find that, notable. That says JP Morgan economist wrote that overall losses in the household net worth will translate into a wealth shock that is set to drag on growth in the coming year. That as consumer spending typically falls by 2 cents a year with every dollar decline in financial wealth, they estimate. And that's one thing that I'm hearing is that, consumer demand is like falling through the floor. And I'm talking pretty much across the board. There is certainly a lot less people buying unnecessary things. And I've seen a lot of different articles and stuff like that I've read that indicate that. It goes on to say American households and nonprofits held about $170 trillion at the end of 2021, according to the Federal Reserve. More than half of the amount is More than half the amount is held in real estate and equities. Higher home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates have reduced buyer activity. Lawrence Yun, National Association of Realtors chief economist, was quoted as saying by Bloomberg, "It looks like more declines are imminent in the upcoming months." According to the Fed estimates, the top 1% owns more than half of the U.S. holdings of stocks and mutual funds, while the bottom 90% owns less than 12%. By contrast, in real estate, the bottom 90% owns more than half of the total, while the top 1% holds less than 14%. So, and I hold 0. No way. To me, that's no different. Going and playing the stock market is no different than going to the boat, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that you can't make money, and I'm certainly not saying that, and I'm not saying that you can't make wise investment. Well, right now, you might not be able to make real wise investments, but I don't know, maybe if you invest in like Raytheon or something. But, I just... I look at it as gambling, because you never know. I mean, you could put your money down on a company that's been tried and true for a long time, and they could have some massive scandal, and then boom, you just never know. I'm not saying don't try. If you've got the disposable income to throw it on the table, go ahead. But to me, it's like gambling. Let's see. Global economy in worse shape since World War II. And this is coming from the IMF. That's what I was talking about. Part of what I was talking about coming from the horse's mouth. Both we've heard from U.S. government now. Well, not government, and now we're hearing from the IMF. Global economy is facing its biggest test since the Second World War, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund said at the start of the World Economic Forum in Davos. Which I would remind folks that there's a petition going around to get them recognized. Let's see. Kristalina Georgieva said the conflict in Ukraine has compounded the COVID-19 pandemic, a crisis upon a crisis, devastating lives, dragging down growth, and pushing up inflation. Add to this sharply increased volatility in financial markets and the continuing threat of climate change, and we face a potential confluence of calamities, she warned. I mean, I wonder how long it took her to think of that. I mean, that's a pretty good sentence, don't you think? Kind of impressive to me. The IMF chief highlighted the impact of soaring food and energy prices on households worldwide, saying the crisis is creating huge problems for highly indebted, vulnerable countries, which will need debt restructuring. Georgieva urged rich countries to lower trade barriers, help nations in debt distress, and improve cross-border payment systems. The IMF warning comes amid fears of a global recession, with Chinese production falling sharply due to lingering coronavirus restrictions. At the same time, Europe and the U.S. are grappling with cost-of-living crisis, and emerging markets are facing food shortages as a result of sanctions against Russia, a major commodities supplier. And that can't be the only reason, There are other reasons that are leading to it too. And I really don't believe that it's all organic. I really don't. Let's shift over to the UK real quick. Gas prices surge on supply shortage. British wholesale gas prices rose on Monday due to a reduction in shipments from Norway after the major supplier suffered unplanned outages at its giant natural gas field. UK gas per immediate delivery jumped by 59 pence to 135 pence per therm by 8:09 General Mountain Time, its highest level since May 3rd. The day-ahead price was 25 pence higher at 134 pence per therm. Norwegian flows via the Langeled pipeline have fallen to 38 million cubic meters per day due to the outages. Reuters data showed. There was an unplanned outage at the Troll field, which is impacting 17 MCM a day, of flows. Smaller disruptions have also been reported at several other Norwegian facilities. So, again, I would imagine things are going to get continually worse. And I don't know what to say. I mean, we're in a bad spot. And unfortunately, our lives are at the hands of government and big corporations that just couldn't care less. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff could just be fixed really easy with the least bit of want. I mean, literally, all they would have to do is want it to be fixed. Hell, all they would have to do is put it in our hands. You know? The American people are as resourceful as it gets, and we built this country. We can damn straight bring it back. But they have to get off our backs and let us go to work. Let us do what we can do to make it happen. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. EU weapons stockpile depleted, says Burrell. And I know that's not the U.S. stockpile. However, doesn't matter. You know, any country or block of countries that would be tasked with helping us in combat would be concerning, you know, to be at that state. That's concerning. And again, I'll say it again. It does not seem organic, does it? I mean, really? You call this military readiness? I don't believe it's organic. Again, the resourcefulness of the American people is incredible. They just have to let us go to work. And not in the damn way that they've conditioned everybody to do it. Anyway, the article here goes on to say the EU needs to take more responsibility for its security and compensate for the shortfalls that have been underlined by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the bloc's foreign affairs chief, Joseph Borrell, has warned. The most obvious example of such shortfalls are the depleted stockpiles resulting from the military support we provided to Ukraine, Borrell wrote in his blog on Sunday. But there were many others inherited from past budget cuts and underinvestment, he added. According to Borrell, combined defense spending across the bloc has increased by only 20% from 1999 to 2021, compared to 66% for the U.S., 292% for Russia. Are you listening? And 592% for China. That's probably some important numbers to think about. The events in Ukraine have resulted in a tectonic shift of the European security landscape, the diplomat insisted. Now it is clear that Europe is in danger. In such circumstances, the EU needs to take on more responsibility for its own security, which would require creating modern and interoperable European armed forces, looking at the higher end of the spectrum and also striving to scale up capabilities and forces, he pointed out. Investments in the military must be coordinated among the EU member states, as unilateral moves by countries could become a waste of money with the risk of multiplying existing loopholes and needless duplications, Borrell warned. The diplomat named the three main lines of action that should eventually allow the bloc to eradicate the current gaps in its defense: They include working on the combat readiness of their forces and stockpile replenishment, the modernization of air defenses, cyber and space-based capabilities, and to jointly develop future key capabilities such as main battle tanks. The time to push forward European defense is now. We need to strengthen the European defense industrial base and to be operational with the needed military capacities to be able to increase our military capacity to defend ourselves, to make NATO stronger, and to support better our partners whenever needed, Burrell insisted. So, that's telling. And at the same time, it tells me two things, possibly more than two. But number one, their stockpiles obviously are becoming depleted, and number two, they've got their military-industrial complex as well. So that's the other part of it. They want to get that thing spun up in full force, and it's, of course, going to take a lot of spending and yada, 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 but it's really real. And I don't know how much time that they're going to have to spin up their programs, but about 10 years ago would have probably been a good time. Let's see. So I guess Biden made some kind of big gaffe today. I haven't actually listened to Biden say it. I've just seen tons and tons of headlines and titles and stuff like that. This article's headlined, U.S. ready to fight China over Taiwan, says Biden. And again, I do believe this was supposedly a gaffe. I don't know. Again, I didn't see it. U.S. President Joe Biden indicated on Monday that Washington is willing to use military force to defend Taiwan if necessary. Speaking at a joint press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo, he explained that the U.S. sees the idea of China going in with its troops as unacceptable. When asked if the U.S. would become directly involved in a conflict between China and Taiwan, including through the use of military force, Biden said yes, adding that it's a commitment we made. The U.S. leader has previously said Washington respects the one China policy, by which it recognizes that there is only one China led by Beijing. Biden, however, maintained that China has no jurisdiction to go in and use force to take over Taiwan. The idea that the island nation can be taken by force is just not appropriate. I will dislocate the whole region, the U.S. president added. He will dislocate the whole region. The U.S. leader is on his first official tour of Asia. It is also the first time this century that such a trip has not included a visit to China. According to Nikkei Asia news outlet, deterring China has been one of the major topics at the talks between Biden and Kishida. The U.S. president is being accompanied by Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, and U.S. Ambassador to Japan Rahm Emanuel. The national... Really? Rahm Emanuel? Okay, we got to come back to this. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan during the talks. So, really? So he's over there right now with Antony Blinken, the Commerce Secretary, a trade representative, and Rahm Emanuel. Yeah, I think that I would definitely heighten my level of concern of conflict with China. Some of these people that are in government, it just amazes me how they just float around. Like Rahm Emanuel is some Japanese expert or something, and I could be a total idiot. He might be, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. These are just people that will do other people's bidding. Nothing more. They're people that will do other people's bidding. Pretty sure that piece of human flesh is, if that's even the case, is from Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's from the Chicago underworld. China responds. Headline says China hits back at U.S. over Taiwan. So we're going to see what they had to say over this. Beijing warned on Monday it would take all necessary measures to defend its territorial integrity and urged Washington not to underestimate the resolve of the Chinese people. The rebuke came hours after U.S. President Joe Biden vowed to use military force to defend Taiwan if necessary. China considers the island an inalienable part of its territory. The Taiwan issue is a purely internal affair for China, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin told reporters, adding on issues touching on China's core interest of sovereignty and territorial integrity, China has no room for compromise or concession. China has asked the U.S. to earnestly abide by the One China policy, under which the Americans and others recognize that there is only one Chinese state, led by Beijing. Its government will take resolute actions to protect its sovereignty and security interests, the ministry spokesman said. No one should underestimate the firm resolve, staunch will, and strong ability of the Chinese people in defending national sovereignty, he added. So, and then it goes on to talking about what Biden said, but, what? That's her snoring? Wow. So, I can't hardly hear anything around me because I've got this headset on, and I have no idea what that even sounded like, but it was apparently Blue snoring. That must have been pretty damn loud. Because I heard her in my headset, but I could barely make something out. I couldn't tell what it was. U.S. has multi-billion-dollar Arctic military plans, says the media. Apparently they're going to do a big upgrade up there, and that's not surprising, especially with what's going on with Russia. Not surprising at all. Says here the U.S. plans to invest billions on Arctic defense, including modernizing its Thule air base in Greenland, Danish newspaper Berlingske reported on Monday, citing an American military report. Neither Denmark nor Greenland have been informed of the plans, it claimed. According to the outlet, the Washington has given the green light to significant investments into its northernmost outpost amid what it called increasingly aggressive behavior from Russia. Citing a statement from the U.S. Air Force, Berlingske wrote that the money would go to upgrading aging infrastructure at Thule. No further details on the matter have been provided. The American Embassy in Copenhagen reportedly declined to elaborate. We don't know, yo. The plans, Berlingske claimed, came as a surprise to the Danish parliament and the Greenlandic government, as the U.S. is supposed to consult and inform, both regarding any significant changes to its military operations in Greenland and autonomous territory of Denmark. This is our country, so we want to know when something is happening, Pipalik Ling Rasmussen, a chairman of the Foreign and Security Committee in the Greenlandic parliament, was quoted as saying. The news comes shortly after the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps announced that they would be conducting more operations in the Arctic. So, and I saw this coming. I'm sure they're going to do a lot of stuff up there. So, there's a lot of people that think that there's going to be significant, battle up there. And there very well may be. Okay. Hang on. Alright, and I've got one more open, and then we'll run through the headlines here. Had quite a few of them up today, so. A NATO member will send Ukraine anti-ship missiles. So, this is Denmark. And it says they'll provide an unspecified number of Harpoon anti-ship missiles and launchers to Ukraine, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced on Monday. Last week's rumors about the transaction prompted Kiev to declare the U.S. would help Ukraine destroy the Russian fleet, which the outgoing Pentagon spokesman denied. Officially, the missiles are intended to help defend the Ukrainian coastline, according to Austin and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley, who spoke with reporters after Monday's virtual meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. The panel, composed of 47 countries willing to supply Kiev with weapons, had a highly constructive meeting and got a sharper sense of Ukrainian needs from Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov and other Kiev officials, Austin said. In addition to the Danish missiles, Czechia has pledged attack helicopters. Wow, I mean, they've got some to spare. Tanks and multiple rocket launcher systems. Kiev has been asking for long-range artillery, tanks, and armored vehicles, as well as drones, according to Austin. Boeing's their Harpoon essentially is the U.S. Navy's standard anti-ship missile with an estimated range of about 300 kilometers. Has active radar guidance and skims the surface until it reaches the target, at which point it can execute a pop-up maneuver and strike from above. Harpoons are normally launched from either surface vessels or attack aircraft, but launchers can be removed from ships and used to shore, which appears to be what Denmark intends to do. I think they call them cruise missiles, if I'm not mistaken. It says last week Reuters reported that the Pentagon was considering sending Ukraine either Harpoons or naval strike missiles directly or through a European ally. The agency cited 3 U.S. officials and 2 congressional sources, all of them anonymous. They expressed hope that once the first country commits to sending Harpoons, others would follow. And so what basically this is we're probably giving them the Harpoons to give out. Probably what just this, more proxies is what it is. We're dragging more people into it, and then what's going to happen, well, yeah, I guess we all know what's going to happen, if that gets attacked. Yeah. So, supposedly, and it's in the headlines, supposedly Russia has destroyed some of the, I believe, the howitzers that we sent over. That's going to be in the headlines, so. It's crazy. I got another one popped up there. Fun times. Pagoda, huh? Let's see. We'll get to that when we get to that. Let me have a sip of coffee. Strawberry milk, by the way, is what I'm vaping on. Yum.
What's the server that has the free ebooks?
Oh. I'll have to talk to you about, I'm not sure. The one, I can't just sit here and tell you how to do that while I'm live on the air.
Okay.
Anyway, let's see. Starting out all these from this morning. Poland terminates Russian gas supply contract. Let's see. More U.S. supplied weapons destroyed in Ukraine, says Russia. That's what I was talking about. Covered that. Winners from rigged economic system revealed, says a charity. A foreign Austrian FM quits Russian oil giant. Norway responds to Polish demand for shared energy revenues. A baby formula shortage drives New York City to declare a state of emergency. And they just flew 78,000 pounds or something in. Global economy in worse shape since World War II. Oh, I covered that. Sorry. Covered that. And that. Ukraine to seize assets of Russia's sympathizers. Russia comments on exchange of Azovstal POWs. And I'm probably saying that way wrong, but Finland joining NATO is a natural step, says an EU official. Fate of McDonald's Golden Arches in Russia is revealed. And I think they're keeping the restaurants, but they're changing the names and logos or whatever, if I'm not mistaken. Moscow appeals to Red Cross for help. Thought that was interesting. Erdogan wants actions, not statements from NATO applicant. Detained Ukrainian opposition leader testifies against former president. Ruble hits 7-year high versus euro as gas buyers concede to Russia's demand. Ukraine hands life sentence to Russian soldier. German cars can't run without Russian gas, says a BMW production chief. Starbucks to exit Russia. Covered that. Economist points to downside of strong ruble. Do you have to be an economist for that? And wouldn't it depend on who you're an economist for? Just wondering. Asking for a friend. UK gas prices surge on supply shortage. And I actually did that one. And I didn't mean to share this out, but I did. Death Star designer dies. So I normally don't share out anything involving entertainment and stuff. So sometimes I accidentally do. European journalist to challenge RT ban in court. West wants to dismember Ukraine, says Minsk. Kremlin reveals cause of looming food crisis. Covered that. Lavrov unveils Russia's geopolitical strategy. Covered that. Oops. Turkey announces new military offensive. New Zealand to train Ukrainian troops. And U.S. names new major non-NATO ally. And that was Pagoda. So, anywho, I'm going to wrap it up and get out of here. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully not as tired. And hope to see you then. So, as always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.